Every time you pay for something, a bank checks your balance, subtracts the money, and writes it down. You trust the bank because somebody has to keep the list, and everyone agreed it would be them. Blockchain is what happens when you ask a stranger question. What if nobody kept the list, and everybody did? One rule on this channel: if a 15-year-old could not follow it, I explained it wrong. Start with the definition, because it is simpler than the word suggests. A blockchain is a list of records, copied onto thousands of computers at once, where every new page is mathematically locked to the page before it. That is it. A shared list that is hard to edit. Records get grouped into batches called blocks. And here is the clever part. Every block carries a fingerprint of the block before it. That fingerprint is called a hash. Feed any data into a hashing formula and you get a fixed string of characters out. Change one comma and the fingerprint changes completely. You cannot work backwards from it, and you cannot fake one. So block 5 carries block 4's fingerprint. Block 6 carries block 5's. Change anything in block 4, and its fingerprint changes, so block 5 is now pointing at something that no longer matches. Then 6 breaks. Then 7. The whole chain after your edit collapses. That is where the name comes from. Blocks chained. Now, who decides what the next block is? Nobody is in charge, so the network needs a rule for agreeing. That rule is called consensus, and the original version, used by Bitcoin, is proof of work. Computers race to solve a deliberately pointless puzzle. There is no shortcut. You guess billions of times a second until an answer fits. Whoever finds it first adds the next block. Solving it is expensive. Checking someone else's answer takes an instant. That asymmetry is the entire security model. Because to rewrite history, you would not redo one puzzle. You would redo that block and every block after it, faster than the rest of the planet is adding new ones. You would need more computing power than everyone else combined. That is what people mean by a 51% attack. So the record is not protected by a guard. It is protected by arithmetic that makes lying cost more than it is worth. Now the corrections, because almost everything popular about this is slightly wrong. Blockchain is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin, published anonymously in 2008, was the first thing built with it. The technology and that one use are not the same thing. It is not unhackable. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, which writes the actual specification, deliberately calls it tamper-evident, not immutable. It does not stop you editing. It makes editing obvious. And the ledger being safe says nothing about the app holding your password. It is not anonymous. Most blockchains are fully public. Your name is not on them, but every transaction you ever make is permanently linked to the same address. And this is the big one. A blockchain cannot check whether anything written on it is true. Write that you own a house you do not own, and the network will store that lie forever, perfectly, with a beautiful mathematical fingerprint on it. It guarantees the record was not changed. It guarantees nothing about whether the record was ever right. That is the whole thing. Not magic. Not money. A way for people who do not trust each other to agree on one list, without anybody being in charge of it. Explained like you are 15. Because somebody should have.